it's almost like they come into a room, and if you teach a lesson, that they're like, okay, well, what's the project? What's the end result? Like, where's our entry event? What are we going to do next? Who's going to be our audience? So it's they get it now that this whole grade level is encompassing this project-based learning activities, and it's like they don't know anything different.
Well, when I walked into the classroom as a construction worker, it was very humorous seeing the students' faces, because you could tell they wanted to laugh, but they weren't sure if that's really what I dressed like outside of school.
When we would go around to those different groups, some of the conversations they had were pretty remarkable. And then when we watched their final project, there were a couple times when we were watching them that we really did just kind of look at each other and go, oh my goodness, because they
had come to those conclusions.
Yes,
we had not.
We didn't help them do that at all. We were truly amazed at some of the depth of thinking that showed up from that. And I think too that like some of our kids that aren't as brave were braver.
They would help each other and figure it out, and the excitement. Yeah, they were discovering things in the program that they didn't even know they were able to do, and they would get so excited. And then that the student that maybe never says anything in class was going around helping other students because they had discovered something that everyone wanted to know how to do. So that was
a lot of the kids who don't normally shine in class are the ones who really stood out. It was kind of neat.
Engagement with this type of project was impressive. I mean, it's just impressive that we actually had them hooked on this project from the middle of November to the end of December.
Student engagement across the board was just wonderful. They were talking to each other in the hallway about the projects. They were talking to Miss Baker's class, her students, about their projects and comparing them. They were working at home with their moms and dads and talking to them about the restaurant business and the project. So it was very exciting to see the talk that was going on.
I honestly think that this is the first time in my entire career that I was a facilitator, and that was it. Always before, I have had a lot more control of what was going on. I've had a lot more control in what information they were processing, what they were receiving. And this is the first time from start to finish I felt like, you know what, I am truly here just to assist them with what they need. I'm not the provider of everything. And so I think that was excellent for them.
It was excellent for them, but it's hard. It's a hard adjustment for us to have made. But I think it's better for them. I mean, we're changing everything about how we teach, and that's taking some doing, but it's turning out a better product for the kids, and that's why we're here.
And we were very honest about that this was out of our comfort zone. This was not how we were used to teaching. This was not how we were taught to teach. And that if we were a little irrational at times, there was some reasoning behind that. So
this project has been something completely new for me. I've never done anything like this, and I have been so far out of my comfort zone. It's crazy. However, the results that I've seen so far have been wonderful. So I'm so excited about this project. It's been a great thing.
Before the project, we were kind of in the planning process, and I had made the comment that I wasn't sure that I could give up the amount of control that I normally have in my everyday class. And I'm glad that I did. It was really amazing to see what the kids can do with a little bit of their own creativity, and just kind of giving them, like, they had limits, but they were able to just be creative and use their own brains and work with each other. So that was really neat to see. So I'm glad I gave up that control.
An epiphany that I had recently, where instead of students always doing things my way, the way I wanted to teach, I talked with them about how they could find a way to take notes, to gather information, to be able to read the text as we were discussing Hamlet. And I had reverted back to the old model of taking notes with a piece of paper. It was my way. And so some students said, well, you know, Dr. Stone, we can use an app called Side by Side where we can have either 2 sides or 3 divisions or even 4, and we can have all that stuff. And that's probably what caused my epiphany, where all of a sudden students were able to help me understand that I could be a more effective teacher by not trying to be in charge all the time. And so while different apps and that sort of thing are really viable in all of our classes, for me, it was a procedural issue. And I think that having learned that, it really has given me much more confidence. And I've been in this business a long time, nigh on to 40 years, man and boy, as Shakespeare would say. And I'm really learning that sometimes the best teaching is done when we're really not even expecting it.
During our presentations,
When we first started.
we wanted the kids that were watching the presentations to be involved as well. So every student had a packet, and they had to go through and pick out the story elements in the stories as the kids were presenting them, and they were having a rough time,
Especially after the first few, and we were like, oh my gosh, is this how all the demonstrations are going to go, or the presentations are going to go? So, you know, and some of the kids, I don't know what the plot was. I don't, you know,
and they couldn't figure out what the point of view was.
Yeah. So then they started talking, and the conversation between them and us was, I need to fix that in mine, you know, and just bright lights went off in their heads, and it's too bad we didn't have laptops right in front of them, or, you know, they would have gone right in, oh, I need to fix that on mine, and so it's kind of neat to see that after being disappointed.
Yeah, and you know, the kids would even get up there and they would start out, mine's not right. I already know what I need to change. Yeah. And so and so they would we would watch their presentation, and when they would get done, they would tell us what they needed to change.
Yeah.
And
kids even had suggestions in the class. You could also do this and this. So it was neat how they were helping each other.
Yeah, and then so we just went ahead and scheduled more lab time, and we went back into the lab, and we explained to them that this is the real world. This is how it really works. You know, before you would do a presentation for a company, you would practice it first, and you know, everyone would critique it, and then you would go back and make those revisions. Yeah. And so that made it more exciting to them, because they felt like it was something that, you know, they really would do as adults as well.
I really want to teach this way all of the time because it helps my students understand how to use this in real life.